A bag of decent grass seed runs about $30 and covers a good chunk of lawn. Compare that to a lawn company who will charge you a few hundred to do the same overseeding job, and not always better than you can do yourself. I've fixed thin, ugly, embarrassing lawns for the price of a single seed bag and a Saturday afternoon. The trick isn't spending more, it's the order you do things in and the timing. Do it right, and you'll see new grass coming up in about 10 to 14 days. I'm going to walk you through the whole thing in 4 steps, the same way I've done it on my own lawn for 30 years. And right at the end, I'll share the cheap pantry item I scatter over fresh seed to keep it moist while it sprouts. That $30 bag really does the whole job. One bag of quality cool season seed covers a typical thin lawn here in the Midwest, and a lawn company would charge you a few $100s for the very same overseeding work. 12, maybe 14 days after you put that seed down the right way, you'll see a green haze of new grass coming up across the bare spots. Most folks never get there. They make one mistake. They throw seed straight onto hard, thatch-covered ground so the seed never touches soil and never sprouts. It sits up on that mat of dead grass and dries out, or the birds carry it off. The fix is the order you do things in. I'm going to walk you through it in 4 steps. Step 1, mow low and rake out the thatch. Step 2, scratch up the soil. Step 3, spread the right seed. Step 4, rake it in and water. And at the very end, I'll show you the cheap pantry item I scatter over fresh seed to keep it moist while it sprouts. Step 1, mow low and rake out the dead thatch. Set your mower down to about 1.5 inches, 2 inches at the most, lower than you'd normally cut. Bag those clippings. Don't leave them lying on top, because we want the ground clear and open. Cutting that short lets light and seed reach all the way down to the soil instead of getting hung up in tall grass. Once it's mowed, grab a stiff garden rake, the kind with the hard metal tines, not a flimsy leaf rake for autumn leaves. Then you rake hard. You drag that rake across the lawn and pull up all the dead brown grass and matted thatch that's been choking things down at the soil line. Thatch is that spongy layer of dead grass and roots that builds up over the years between the green blades and the dirt. You'll hear it as you work, a dry, scratchy sound as the tines pull the dead stuff loose. Rake until you can look down and see actual bare dirt between the living grass blades. That right there is the whole point of this step. Here's where most people mess up. They skip the raking, or they give it one lazy pass and call it good, and the seed ends up sitting on a mat of dead grass 1 inch off the soil. Seed that never touches dirt never grows. Plain as that. I've watched neighbors fling a whole $30 bag out over their thatch and wonder all fall why nothing came up. When you're done raking, walk the lawn and you should see bare soil showing through in all the thin spots. That open ground, ready to take seed, is your win for step 1. Step 2, scratch and loosen the top of the soil. Now that you can see dirt, you want that top 1/4 inch of soil loose and crumbly so the seed has somewhere to nestle in. Take that same hard rake and scratch back and forth across the bare ground, breaking up the hard crust on the surface. You're not digging a garden bed here. A 1/4 inch deep is plenty. No need to wear yourself out. On the worst bare patches, the ones packed down hard as a sidewalk from foot traffic or the dog, work them over a little longer, or use a hand cultivator, that little 3-pronged claw tool, to rough them up good. The reason this matters so much is seed-to-soil contact. A grass seed has to sit down against moist, loose soil to swell up and send out its first root. On hard-packed ground, the seed rolls right off or washes away the first time you turn the hose on. When you've done it right, the surface looks dark and crumbly, almost like coffee grounds, and your fingers come up with a little loose dirt on them. Press your hand flat against it, and it should give a touch, not feel like a concrete driveway. I've been doing this 30 years, and this is the step the old-timers on my street never once skipped, even when they were tired. One old fellow, Walt, 2 doors down, kept a worn-out cultivator just for this, and his lawn was the envy of the block every September. That loose, crumbly seed bed is your win. Every seed you drop now has a soft little pocket to settle into and grow. Let me lean on the fence for a second before we get to the seed. This seed-to-soil contact business, the prep you just did, is the one thing those old groundskeepers obsessed over. I gathered the full version of it in my ebook, The Old Ways, 50 Forgotten Lawn Secrets from America's Greatest Groundskeepers. It's $19, and secret number 14 covers overseeding a thin lawn the old way, with seed-to-soil contact, the very thing we're doing right now. You'll find it at GarrySlawnBooks.com or scan the QR code on your screen. If you're watching on the TV, grab your phone now and point it at that code. No rush, take your time pulling it up. I'll be right here when you get back. All right, let's get that seed down. Step 3, spread the right seed at the right rate. For us up here in cool season country, you want a cool season seed. A good fescue and Kentucky bluegrass mix does the job in most Midwest yards. The fescue gives you tough, quick-rooting grass that handles foot traffic and a little drought, and the bluegrass spreads and fills in over time to give you that thick, dark green carpet. Read the bag and make sure it's a quality mix without a bunch of cheap filler or weed seed riding along. Pour it into a broadcast spreader, the kind that flings the seed out in a fan as you walk behind it. For overseeding a thin lawn, you're aiming for about 6 to 8 pounds of seed per 1,000 square feet. On the bare patches, go over them a second time to double that rate, since they've got no existing grass to help fill the gaps. Walk at a steady, even pace, back and forth in straight rows, the same way you'd mow, so you don't miss strips. The timing here is everything, and it's the other half of the trick I promised you. The sweet spot is late August to the middle of September, when the soil temperature settles in around 50 to 65 degrees. That warm soil down below and cooler air up top is exactly the weather cool season grass wants to wake up and sprout in. Here's where folks go wrong, and they go wrong both directions. Dump it on too thick, and the little seedlings crowd each other out and choke, coming up weak and spindly. Spread it too thin, and you're left every bit as patchy as when you started. 6 to 8 pounds, doubled on the bare spots. Hold to that, and you'll lay down an even blanket of seed. Look down, and you should see seed scattered across the soil like pepper on a plate, close together, but never piled up. That even spread is your win. Step 4. Rake the seed in lightly and water shallow and frequent. Take your rake, flip it over to the flat backside, or use a real light hand and gently drag it across the seeded ground so the seed settles down to about a 1/4 inch under the surface. You're not burying it. A 1/4 inch of cover is all it needs. Any deeper than that, and the little sprout can't fight its way up to the light. Then comes the watering, and this is where the whole job lives or dies. Fresh seed needs the top inch of soil to stay damp every single day until it sprouts. So you water light and often a short, gentle sprinkle once or twice a day, only enough to keep that surface dark and moist to the touch. You are not soaking it down deep. A heavy soak washes the seed into the low spots and leaves you with clumps and bare patches both. And worse than that, plenty of folks water deep one time in the morning and then let the sun bake it bone dry by afternoon. The moment that top inch dries out, the seed that started to sprout dies, and there is no bringing it back to life. Keep it damp like a wrung-out sponge for the full 10 to 14 days. Right around day 10, you'll start to catch it, a faint green haze across the brown soil, thousands of grass blades no thicker than a hair standing up. By day 14, that haze fills in and starts to look like a real lawn. That first sight of green coming up where there was nothing but bare, embarrassing dirt, that's the payoff for your whole Saturday afternoon. And it's the moment that hooks you on doing it right every fall. Let me point out the three mistakes I see folks make so you can sidestep every one of them. The first is seeding at the wrong time. Throw seed down in the heat of July and it'll rot in the hot soil before it can root. Wait until after the first hard frost and it's too cold to germinate at all. Stick to that late August to mid September window and you give the seed the weather it needs. The second mistake is watering deep once a day instead of shallow and frequent. One big soak in the morning, and the top inch dries out by lunchtime, and your sprouting seed dies of thirst. Keep it to a light watering once or twice a day so the surface never dries. The third mistake is the big one, skipping the rake out and throwing seed straight on top of the thatch. When seed never touches soil, most of it never germinates, and you've thrown your $30 bag away for nothing. Rake down to bare dirt first, every time, and the seed has a fighting chance. I told you at the start I'd share the cheap pantry item I scatter over fresh seed, and here it is, used coffee grounds, the dried grounds left over from your morning pot. After you've seeded and raked, scatter a thin layer of those grounds over the bare patches, about one coffee can's worth per patch, dusted on thin enough that you can still barely see the soil through it. Don't cake it on thick. A light dusting is all you want. Lay it down right after seeding and water it in lightly. And if it washes thin over the next 10 to 14 days, sprinkle a little more on. Here's why it works. Those grounds hold water like a little sponge, so the top inch of soil stays damp between waterings instead of drying out and killing your seed. Their dark color soaks up the sun and holds a bit of warmth in the soil, which nudges the seed to sprout faster. And they hide the seed from the birds who'd otherwise make a free meal of it. It does the same job as those pricey straw blankets, for free, straight out of your kitchen. One more thing before I let you go. Those first 2 weeks after seeding are where most folks lose the whole lawn. The seed sprouts, then dries out, and it's gone. I put a whole section on getting new seed through that stretch in my ebook, The Old Ways, 50 Forgotten Lawn, Secrets from America's Greatest Groundskeepers. Secret number 27 is all about babying new seed through the first 2 weeks, the cheap covering and watering tricks the old groundskeepers used to keep every blade alive. You can find it at GarrySloanBooks.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Go ahead and grab your phone and pull it up whenever you're ready. No hurry at all. I'll wait right here for you. And that's how you take a thin, ugly, embarrassing lawn and turn it thick and green for the price of one $30 bag of seed and a single Saturday afternoon. It's the same old school common sense way the best lawns on the block have always been built. Next time, I'll show you how to feed and winterize that fresh new lawn so it survives its first winter and comes back stronger. Until then, keep it simple, and I'll see you out by the fence.